The first step is really how you can change the psychology around how you approach problems. And what I mean by that is when you have a problem, you've got to feel it. And feeling it is your emotional guidance system. It's telling you, okay, you're feeling that happened, that was a disappointment. But that feeling also can be a trigger for you. And successful people, what they do is they learned to pivot. And when they get that feeling that something didn't go the way they expected it, they immediately look for an opportunity in that problem. And so the question that you have to ask yourself is, have I identified my triggers and that feeling? Do I feel it enough that I can recognize it to know that I can flip that into an opportunity? That the law of polarity states that everything has an opposite. And no matter what you get hit with, there's always some good in it. So but often that opportunity is hidden in disguise. Like they say, challenges are opportunities hidden in disguise. Well, that's what a problem is. And if you can build the muscle and recognize the feeling you feel when you hit a problem and not get caught up in that negative side of it and that feeling of it, and you can feel it, let it go. It's like you don't fight it. Don't try to have, just feel it. But then if you can observe and let it go and be able to look for an opportunity in it, that's what makes the difference. That's the first step. So can anybody give me an example of maybe where that's been hard to do, or an example of maybe you can look back in your past and you can recognize that some of those biggest problems that you've ever hit gave you some of your greatest opportunities? Anybody have any of those examples? Brian, when you just, like right now, you're in a new opportunity, but you were doing service before. So was there anything there that was like a problem that ended up turning into an opportunity?
I mean, I was actually just thinking about that. I mean, I was laid off from my service position due to an acquisition. And it kind of made me realize I don't like doing service. And it's how I wound up getting into sales. So, I don't think anyone wants to be laid off, but I think kind of the reflection on what I actually wanted to do with my life would not have happened without that. So
great. Perfect example. So you use the problem, instead of a stumbling block, you turn it into a stepping stone. Anybody else? And I think the big thing is everyone's going to get some sort of a chaos, trauma, something that's going to be dressed it. So I think the big takeaway is really recognizing that oftentimes what we're really dealing with is we had an expectation and it's dressed up in disguise in different clothes. So there's something that life is always happening for you. And if you have that mentality and you have that ability to immediately trigger yourself to start to look for the good, or where's the opportunity here, and you build that muscle, you'll start gliding through life, because you're going to start turning, you're going to just look for the good or the opportunity, or remember maybe and reflect like Brian had, okay, this has happened to me before. That was a real blow, but that blow turned into something that I didn't even think I was even capable of. And so when you change your perception of what you're looking at, that's really the key. You're changing your perception. You're going to empower yourself to get through that circumstance and really grow and expand. So that's step number one. Everybody can relate to that? No questions? Okay, so step number two is when you are, so we pivot. In step number two, you want to replace, you've got to realize that what happened to you when that situation happened. And what I'm going to describe here is, how do you replace recency with intentionality? And we touched a little bit about purpose and passion yesterday when we were talking about goals. But recency, what that is something happens unexpected, COVID, for example, or 9/11, or somebody gets sick at home, or a job disappears, or whatever it is. And the recency of that event has you feeling bad because your expectation was not met. Right? So you're caught. What happens, and this happens to everybody. Everybody's done it. I know everybody on the planet has done it. We get caught up in the negative energy of what that is. Two things usually make people angry. One is they get their feelings hurt, and the other one is they have an expectation that's not met. That's what really, if you boil down anger, it's usually one of two things. Why somebody, even if your customers are angry, they had an expectation that they were going to get a delivery, or who fill in the blanks, or somebody got their feelings hurt. And when we get hit like that, we get angry. And so this expectation that you had is not, and you can get caught into the recency of what happened and stay in that negative mode. Well, what does that do? We're all vibrating. We're all a bunch of energy. That energy field that we're in the recency is based on the past, what just happened. And we can tend to get sucked into that. The more we think about the negative, and the more that builds, we're building up that magnetic force for negative that's going to bring everything negative to us. And it keeps going on. So the way you've got to flip out of that is, and recency can take away your intentionality and your purpose for a while if you don't watch the triggers and recognize that you're getting caught up on it. So the trick, or the muscle, or the exercise around that is to feel it, understand the trigger. What is it that trips you or gets you angry in terms of expectations and stuff? And there's many ways to get down to that. A lot of it's rooted in values. Maybe somebody triggered your values, all kinds of different things. And we can talk about that more in depth. But the second skill is trading recency for intentionality, which is based upon the future. So can you, in that point, when you get that situation coming on to you, flip yourself into intention? Meaning, in a perfect world, what would be the perfect outcome? Does anyone have any resonance with what I'm saying here? Where you found yourself maybe getting caught up in recency ever in your life? And how quickly can you flip out of it? So the thing that hurts you can be, sometimes when we get hurt like that, it can really just be a massive, opportunity dressed up in disguise. And I think that's the thing, that awareness, the more you become aware of that, the more power you're going to be able to have to flip back to intentionality. So in a perfect world, even when it hurts, what would be the outcome that could happen? And that really gets you thinking, as opposed to just accepting what is. Because a lot of times we get stuck in the isness of the way things are, or what isn't there, and we lose our creativity and our imagination to think about how to solve, go through that problem. So Number one is change the psychology of the way you view problems. How can I turn this into a stepping stone? And number two is to recognize if you're getting stuck, because sometimes if you get stuck in recency, you could blow a year of your life being stuck. I mean, how many times have you seen people where they get some sort of a big blow and they just have a hard time getting out of it, and it could take years? Well, you want to be successful and have a bulletproof mindset, you've got to recognize that you can't fall in that trap. And what you have to do is you have to really start watching yourself, and at your emotions are your emotional guidance system. And a lot of times, instead of shoving emotions under the rug or whatever, when things happen, or journal, you've got to identify your triggers. And the more you identify those triggers and can flip, the faster you can flip, that's when you're going to start gliding on water, building that muscle. And I'll share you some ways to do that with you. So that's number two. Okay, number three, we're going to go deep in tomorrow, is self-identity. The two most powerful words in the world are I am. And how you self-identify yourself with those two words is huge, because identity is one of the strongest emotions that we have, and how we identify ourselves and what we repeatedly tell ourselves about ourselves keeps us where they are. It's not how's the saying go? It's not what's out there that holds you back. It's what you, it's what you think you can't do. So how you're identifying yourself with the I am is really important. So if you say, I am successful, I'm a great salesperson, I am whatever follows those words, whatever resonates with you with those words, that really sets your limitations. And the great thing is you have the ability to change what comes after I am. That's the good news. But the question is, are you cognizant of what you say to yourself with the I am afterwards? The self-identity, the words that you choose to put after I am are the most powerful words that cause your results, because you'll never outdo. Your self-image is like a thermostat, and you will never outperform that self-image, because it's going to keep pulling you back. And there are some things in terms of your self-image that we'll go through tomorrow that sometimes cause us problems. There's different saboteurs, and I'm going to give you a tool tomorrow on how you can recognize those and then begin to change and alter that self-image. But self-identity is really important. So when you get a blow, are you saying there's a good saying that it's not the resources that you need, it's how resourceful are you? It's resourcefulness that's needed. From the inside out, how resourceful are you going to be? Sometimes, things happen, there's 4 emotions that can change your life, right? One is disgust. Like, has anybody ever had one of those situations in your life where you've said, that's it, I've had it, never again? Anybody? So disgust is one of those emotions that in one day can change your life. Another emotion is the decision. Anybody ever made that decision after the disgust, where you took action and you made a choice and you said, that's it, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm doing, some of those are probably the most life-changing experiences that you ever had. Agree? The third one is desire. And yesterday we talked about goals. And the reason that we talked about the goals and getting clarity on what you want is because the more you fire up that desire is a releasing mechanism. And, sometimes you got to welcome some of these experiences in life that you have, because you never know what's going to trigger your desire. Sometimes those big blows and those experiences that we have like Brian said, that triggered his desire that wanted to come out, that he wanted to do something else besides service. But it wasn't until that event happened that event triggered your desire. And so sometimes when we get those blows, you've got to welcome them. You don't want to get hurt by them. You don't want to let them kill you. But sometimes you've got to welcome them because they're trying to tell you something. It's a universe kind of saying, hey, there's something else here for you to see. There's another lesson to be learned. And most of the time, it's something that we didn't even think was possible for ourselves that comes out. So it's a good thing. So if you can start really thinking, from that standpoint of seeing the good. All right. The next one, real important, is number 4 is strategy and action is one side of a coin. The other side of the coin is mindset and belief that matches it. So have you ever seen in an organization, is for those of you who have done corporate, you might see 2 people get the same kind of number, the same kind of territory. One takes off like a rocket and the other doesn't. They could even be doing the same actions, but one takes off and the other one doesn't. Does anybody know the reason why? Take a guess. We got strategy and action on one side of the coin, mindset and belief on the others. Nobody? Guessing? So your mindset and your belief have to match and be aligned with the strategy and the action that you're taking. You can have, I've managed many sales teams in the past. A lot of people will take the strategy and the action, but if they down deep don't believe and have that mindset that they can do it, it's going to trip them up. The mindset and the belief has to be, so if you're in sales, right, and last year you did, let's say you had $1 million territory, and this year you're going to do 2 million, or what, so you're going to put strategies and actions in place. If you don't believe you can do 2 million, if you don't have that confidence and that belief, you don't have that childlike expectation, you can strategy and mindset, great. So that's your conscious mind we talked about yesterday. As an adult, you sit there, you build the framework, the architecture and stuff like that. That's great, right? But with that, you must have aligned in your subconscious mind, belief and mindset of expectation that you will do it. Because if you don't, and you don't believe it, you can strategy and action, you can take all the strategy and action you want. And if you don't believe it, it's that lack of belief is going to hold you back. The biggest things that hold people back in life are disbelief and discouragement. And so this week, I'm going to share with you some ideas, and I'm going to ask you to allow yourself, if you're not getting the results that you want in a certain area, I want you to just allow yourself to evaluate some new ideas. You don't have to accept them if you don't want them, but at least evaluate them. Because if you're not getting results in that area, the likelihood is you either are accepting something that the other person who's getting the results you want is not accepting, or you're not accepting something that the other person's accepting. Does that make sense? So cool. So that's number 4. The strategy and the action is a must. You have to take action. Action causes results. Results is the name of the game, especially in sales. I mean, that's our game, right? Results. It's all about results. You got to take the action. But the strategy and the action has to match and be aligned with the mindset and the belief system. And then the last one, this last final step is winners that glide through life have absolute clarity on what they want. So the clarity is really, really important, which is why you set a goal. You set the direction for where you're moving. You get that goal crystal clear with details, how much, how high, how wide, colors, landscapes, the whole 9 yards, as much detail into that goal as you can, because the clearer you are on where you're going to go, no matter what life is throwing at you, the more likely you're going to achieve your goals from the clarity. But if you don't have clarity and you're getting recency in things happening to you, and you're not actively thinking about what you want and evaluating your beliefs and your ideas and what you're willing to accept, then 9 times out of 10, you're going to end up in the doghouse or in somebody else's movie with things just causing your life. You're going to be like a ship that doesn't have a sail, like going up against the rocks. So clarity and order of where you're going and why you're going, tied into your purpose, is really, really important. All right, so who has questions at this point? I mean, we just gave you an awareness. I mean, is this helpful? Is this helping you understand anything about yourself, or any questions that I could take from anybody at this point, just before we move on?
I'm finding it very helpful, Rhonda.
Great. Great. What kind, any special insights?
I mean, I can relate to pretty much everything you're saying. I can relate to something.
Yeah. Because in life, it's going to be a series of trauma, chaos, and whatever. But if you can remember those 5 steps, 1, what's my psychology of how I'm approaching the problem? Am I looking at it as another stepping stone, as a gift? Am I looking for the good, or am I seeing a roadblock, like somebody's doing it to me? That's number 1. 2, okay, am I allowing myself to feel the blow? Because when you allow yourself to feel the blow, if you got your feelings hurt or whatever, you get in touch with what that feeling is, and you can recognize it, feel it, and let it go. And then through observation, because you've observed it, like you're sitting in a movie theater, almost as opposed to being caught up in it, you get in that observer seat, you feel it, you let it go, and then you say, okay, I don't want to stay in this negative energy. What could be good here? Where's the opportunity? How fast can I pivot? And how can I get back to my intention? Your intentionality is your purpose in life. How many of you here know that? I mean, what your purpose is? Does everybody know what their purpose is? Have you identified your purpose?
No.
Anybody not? Who raise your hand if you know what it is. If you don't know what it is, it's okay. So a lot of people don't know what it is, but do you guys know, what do you know about purpose?
Like purpose in life, or just purpose in work?
Purpose in life. I mean, work is just another way that you would fulfill your purpose. But what's your purpose? Why are you here on the planet?
I mean, sometimes to leave like a legacy, honestly.
Yes.
I mean,
That's it. You got
yeah.
it. It's about the legacy. You're right on track, Ray.
Yeah. I used to have a friend who said, to leave with the most toys.
Okay. But purpose is it's an infinite thing. People will say, did you achieve your purpose? You raised your kids or whatever. No, your purpose never ends. Your purpose is your soul's, essence of who you are. It's what you bring to the party all the time. When ask yourself, or ask your friends if you don't know, like, what do you get access to when I'm around? Just start asking people, start getting aware of like what you provide, because there's a certain energy, there's a certain uniqueness, your divinity that you have, and your purpose has to do with serving others, contribution. It's that spirit stuff that we talked about, those two things, the growth and the contribution. So it's almost like if you have a body, right? And I'm the heart, Ray's the liver, Brian's the brain, Maureen's the blood circuit. We all have a part to play in this game of life. We're all connected, and we all have this unique talent that the world needs. And when we show up in full glory, authentically as ourselves, and we give that gift to others and contribute, that's when we get the highest joy and fulfillment. So when you go to intentionality and you say, okay, wait a minute. So for me, mine's about empowering others to bring out more of their true potential. So it's kind of no wonder why I got into sales management and, all the different things. I used to be a cheerleader. I mean, it's kind of funny, like if you go back on your purpose, but you've got to say, in that moment of getting hit with that brick, or, whatever happened, whatever the chaos is that's part of this planet experience on Earth, how do I get back to my purpose? And so you get out of the recency and you say, okay, well, if there's an opportunity here, how can I give my gift given this new situation? And you pop back out of it. But it takes mind discipline of really understanding that web inside your own head and how you can start leveraging it, and then leveraging the power of that emotion and that intentionality and that purpose towards your growth and in dealing with the situation, so you can keep gliding through life and you keep going. Makes sense? Hi, Dale. Nice to meet you. I know you came in a little later, but we have it on recording, so you'll be able to catch up. So we were just talking, just to kind of catch you up, about the 5 steps to bulletproof your sales mindset. And we said first is to change the psychology of how you look at problems. This also helps with your customers. Because listen, guys, if you can get your customers, how many of you have had customers that have had blows that you had to deal with, right? So think of it that way. So how do you pivot and turn that into an opportunity? How do you turn it into a stepping stone? So that's number 1, changing the psychology of how we deal with problems. Number 2 is replacing recency of whatever the blow was that just happened and changing that to intentionality. So the recency is based on the past, the intentionality is based on the future. Yesterday, we talked about setting goals. You're creating and designing your life by design. You're creating your compelling future. Number 3 is self-identity. In that space, when that happens to you, who is the I am you're going to be? I am resourceful. I've been through things like this before. I'm going to find an opportunity, and I'm going to find a way to use my purpose to maybe, help the situation, right? And then number 4 is remembering that we have to, every time we set a new goal or go into a new role, we have to bring our mindset and our beliefs up in alignment with our desires. Hey, you're going to continually grow. Ray, you said yesterday, 20% over plan. Once you do that, you're going to want to do another 20% or double it, or whatever you're going to do. You're always going to keep going. But if you don't get your beliefs and your expectations up with your new goals, you want to grow them so they're always parallel and aligned, which means every time you're stretching, every time you're going to grow, you want to go back and think about those beliefs. Are my current beliefs and expectations serving me? And are they empowering me? Or do I have to let it go? And the thing that I'll tell you about beliefs is, belief is nothing more than an idea you accepted after an evaluation. I'll say that again. A belief is nothing more than an idea. It's not fact. It's an idea you accept as true for you based upon an evaluation of a situation. And when I coach clients, one of the biggest things that we have to unravel in the beginning is allowing yourself to evaluate those beliefs. Allow doesn't mean you have to let them go. If they're serving you and they continue to empower, hold them on. But most of the beliefs that we've got, guys, we got from somebody else. You didn't choose most of your beliefs. I've got news for you. A lot of those beliefs came down based upon your environment and who you were hanging out with, your hereditary, your relatives, what people told you about you, and you trusted them. You said, hey, you did the best you could at the time. But guess what? We're all adults now, and we have the ability to choose what we want to believe. And if it's, a belief is nothing more than an idea, why not believe the ones that are going to empower you and are going to serve you? Why hold on to the ones that came from Uncle Jed and Aunt Nellie from 50 freaking years ago that somebody's been telling you and rolling down over the years if they're not serving you today? And then the last one, number 5, is getting clarity on what you really, really, really want. So yesterday we had goals deal, text or chat or something. If you didn't get the goals from the goal homework from yesterday, but we'll catch you up from yesterday if you need that. All right. So what are we going to do today? Well, today, I think what I want you to think about is yesterday we talked a lot about goals. I want you to write down tonight, what are the 3 things? Oh, you did receive them. Okay, good deal. What are the 3 things that you want the most in your life now? What are the 3 things that you're going to go after that you really want most? So you're going to design your life for top 3 things. And between the work that we had yesterday on the goals, go back through that, look at the stuff about values, and really decide what are the 3 things that you're going to move forward with on this year that you're going to do to grow yourself, to increase your contribution, to be on purpose, that you really, really want, and get clarity on them. Because when we go into tomorrow, we'll talk about the self-image of that person, of who you want to become. Because guess what? Here's the deal, guys. We don't get what we want. We get what we are. So the goals are really for who you want to become. And when you become that person, you're going to attract all that stuff to you. But you got to ask yourself, after you write down those 3 things you really, really want, you have to ask yourself, who do I have to become to attract that in my life? Who do I have to become to attract that? If you're really serious about taking off with this, the whole thing we talked about on those beliefs, you are going to have to, you are going to have to be willing. If you want more and you really want to become more, you want to bring more of yourself to the surface, the very first step you're going to need to look at is those beliefs, and surrender some of the things that you've been doing that are not going to allow you to become that person. And if you're willing to do the work to let that go, there's going to be no stopping you. You're going to be unstoppable force of nature. You're going to go through the 5 steps every time things happen to you. And if you're constantly willing to be on this continual improvement of reevaluating my beliefs every time I set new goals, reevaluating my self-identity every time I take on a new position, a new role, whatever it is that I'm going to do, you're allowing yourself to grow and expand, to become new, then you're gonna succeed in life, and it's gonna be an easy, fun place, and it's gonna be a lot of fulfillment along the way, and you're gonna have a great ride. But you have to be willing to surrender some of that old stuff to make space for the magic that you want in your future. So tonight, just what do you really, really want? 3 things. And think about some of those beliefs and mindset that you might have had before, even trading up your mindset before on how you handle problems to go into these 5 steps to bulletproof your sales mindset. That's going to take some work, but I promise you, if you do the work, that those 5 steps become automatic and you can handle, you've ever seen people in the boardroom or leaders or maybe a CEO or whatever, and you say, how in the hell does that person, that woman, that guy, that woman stay so damn calm in all this turbulence? They're using the 5 steps. And they're willing to surrender, and sometimes some things that they've held on to if they're not empowering them and supporting them and where they're going with their goals. And the other thing is, the more you understand you understand this, you're going to collaborate so much better with all the team people that you have to work with. You just think, if you have these 5 superpowers, you've got this bulletproof mindset down, how are you going to be able to handle all these objections with all these different customers that you have? How you're going to ask them questions to really find out what they really, really want, and how you're going to help them reach their promised land, how you're going to build confidence in them on making decisions because you have that bulletproof mindset. So anyone have any questions before we wrap up? It's your call. It's your power hour. So I'm here to serve you. Was this helpful? You gonna say something, Brian?
I was going to say, yeah, I found it helpful.
Okay, good. Awesome. All right. So that's a wrap for today. I'll send you over the homework and the exercises, and then we will see you tomorrow, same time, same place. Sound good? Thanks, guys. Have a great rest of the afternoon.